Welcome everyone to the Incredicast podcast. I'm Adam Hurst here with David Kerrigan, and this week there may not be any racing on the track, but we will still provide a podcast for you, giving you the first ever kickoff recap. Do you want to explain what we are going to be talking about today?
I sure will. Not even F1 is racing this week. Wow, that's pretty okay. But welcome everyone to the first ever kickoff recap podcast. We will go through the first few races so far of the NASCAR season that we've had, and we won't go into detail because we don't want this podcast to be 8 hours long. However, we will give a rough rundown of the races that have occurred, and we'll also talk about what will happen later in the season, according to us, and yeah, I'm excited.
Yep, we've had a Ford-dominated first part of this season. Harvick winning 3, Brad winning 1, if you count the Clash. And also now Clinton Boyer with the Martinsville Clock. He adds himself to that list. But yes, as we was talking about, we had the Clash. Ford showing up very strong. Main thing we can really take from that race is the 1, 2, 3, I think possibly 4 with Kurt Busch. Top 4 in that race was Ford's.
Yeah. And the 3 cars of the Penske teammates, they were lined up together there at the very end, and there was not any combination in the field that could team up to get past those guys. So I understand that it's Daytona and Super Speedway, and even the engines they used, they were not new engines. However, I believe that would really set the stage on how the season, or at least the early part of the season, excuse me, as we've seen so far, would go. So,
and then we had the 3 car putting Chevrolet back in victory lane in the Daytona 500, as well as the 3. Austin Dillon wins the Daytona 500, was the first one to get into the playoffs this season, because Brad's Clash win did not really mean anything for points. That's really
it's the Clash.
It's the Clash. So that helps the 3-car team because they have been struggling through the other races. So they're in the playoffs no matter what, unless they get out of the top 30. There's only like 6 cars that can actually be in the top 30. So
yeah, so we'll see for the second year in a row that the 3 car of TBR Racing, or actually TB Racing, Hillen Brothers Racing, will be in the playoffs. So great for that team, as they somehow made it in last year because of the Coke 600 win, with the fuel mileage. And so, yeah, great to see that car in the playoffs.
Then we move on to Atlanta, a place where everyone thought that Truex would have been the mile-and-a-half guy who was going to dominate Atlanta and Vegas. But that was not the case. It was actually Kevin Harvick who dominated most of those races, and he got 3 in a row for Atlanta, Vegas, and Phoenix. Unfortunately for him, is Vegas, that win did not count because of the side skirts and the rear window. Lost all of his playoff points, so that's really unfortunate for that team. But you still have, 13 points or 11, I think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe it'll hurt him a whole lot when we get to Homestead or even to the playoffs. One could say that the 2018 season, it began at Atlanta because, you go to Daytona and it's a restricted plate, and you know who's going to get pole every single year. So, that's not competitive. We called it right again, as we always do. To crash fest and so on and so on. And so Atlanta really is the first race of the season where, where you start to see teams that are actually good are going to do good, and you see drivers that are going to be there. And we got a pretty good taste, firsthand with the 3 in a row that Harvick would supply for us at Atlanta, Vegas, and Phoenix, showing how fast that Ford car is and the progress that Stuart Haas Racing they had made over the offseason. So,
yeah,
great for that team.
Another notable driver to talk about is Kyle Busch. He's had second place for Vegas, Phoenix, third at Fontana, second at Martinsville. So he's close to getting that win. But
everything's great, though, right?
Everything's great. He's looking forward to getting back into his race car. Not at Phoenix, but at Texas.
And he got P2 at Homestead.
Yeah. So he's been on a P2 roll lately, besides the 500 and Fontana. Reminds me of Kevin Harvick in 2015 when he got all those second places.
Good to see that we have a new Mark Martin. So
yeah,
good for him. Hey,
congratulations, Kyle Busch.
Hey, they still pay you a lot for finishing second. So
yep. But as we move on down the list, we can basically skip 3 races because Harvick won them all, and same headline for them all. So we move on down to Fontana, where Truex flexed his muscles a little bit, dominated, won by the largest margin since, I believe, 2008 by 11 seconds.
That's really all she wrote,
Yeah.
We could talk about the 42 car. He was fast. The 18 was pretty good there, except when he asked them to turn the wedge, turn the wrench for the wedge to add wedge because his car was loose. They decided to sneeze and to turn it the other way. So he didn't get second, though. He got worse than second. So
at least it wasn't second. So
yeah, there you go. Again, we could talk about the 4 car crashing with the 42, but at the end of the day, it's the 78. Truex was out there by, I would say, zip code. However, there are zip codes that are smaller than the distance that he had over the 42. So, yeah, that was his day to shine.
Then after Fontana, we went to Martinsville, which was snowed out. So we went racing on a Monday. Clint Boyer would, like Truex did last week, he would flex his muscles and win at Martinsville. I would say in a dominating fashion, even though it wasn't like 11 seconds.
Yeah.
Still led a lot of the race. No one could touch him.
I would say, though, that that race was slightly different. Not only, I don't mean that in the way that, Fontana's Fontana, Adam. And
yeah.
Martinsville's in Virginia. No, I mean, as we had it in Fontana, Truex won stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. And there was only, 2 other cars that were even close to him. This past week we saw at Martinsville, we saw there were other cars that were up front. You had Hamlin. Truex was up front at the start of the race. You had the 12 car Blaney, and then the man himself with the T-shirts, Kyle Busch. He would get P2 again. And so, while I don't believe that anyone else could really touch Boyer, they were close.
Yeah.
So that would be the main difference, I would say, when describing Fontana and also Martinsville. So
either way, Stuart Haas has won the majority of these races so far. They won 4 out of 6 in terms of point races.
That's the headline
Yeah.
currently. Harvick in that 4 car. But it's not just Harvick. As we saw in 2016, I believe, and then the beginning of last year, we saw the 48 car was on it, right?
Yeah.
We saw he collected his 7th championship in a fantastic fashion. However, we really didn't see anyone else from Hendrick that was as good or even close to being on the level of the 48. However, currently with Stuart Haas, we see the 4. Harvick is, he got 3 wins in a row, right? Kurt Busch has been on it. He has a few stage wins. He almost won the Daytona 500 for 2 years in a row. We saw the 14 of Clint Boyer this past week. We saw the 10 of Eric Almirola was doing pretty good as well. So it's a whole entire organizational change, I believe.
Yeah, a lot different from last year. They're already beating their record from last year because I believe they had 3 wins in 2017. This year they already have racked up 4.
Wow. So, yeah.
So in 6 races, you've already beat your record from last year. So, are Fords fast? Answer is yes. As we move along, we're not moving along. Or as we move along.
You can't move grass.
Yeah,
you can move the turf though at Daytona.
Yeah,
as we saw.
But what is some season predictions you see out of some of these teams?
I'm gonna make a crazy prediction here, and I'm gonna say that Stuart Haas Racing and Penske, they're gonna win more races.
Oh, what makes you think that?
Well, I have a feeling that tonight is gonna be a good night, but no, I don't think that's crazy in saying that. Yeah, I think that the Fords, they will keep their pace. Obviously, we're going to see some changes. I think that Hendrick is going to, over time probably, they are going to work out some of the kinks that they have with this new Camaro. I think it'll continue to be a hard and painful process. As we've seen, the 24 has not been performing at all. The 9 has been up there. And the 48, got his first top 10 of the season. So they'll continue to struggle, I think. However, Amy Johnson and Chad Knaus are always going to be the dynamic duo, They are Batman and Robin, and Chad Knaus, he's probably Batman, to be honest, but probably is. But yeah, so I can see Truex continue to be good. Ford and Toyota, though, those 2 manufacturers are probably going to be tagging it out. So
yeah, I feel like it's going to be Harvick and Truex and Kyle Busch pretty much all year for mile and a half. There's no doubt about it. Maybe Larson occasionally.
What about the 2?
The 2 car will be right there, most likely around 4th, maybe 3rd. I think he'll eventually win one of these mile and a halves. Don't know which one though. That's why you should tune in every week to every race.
But they don't have them every week.
Yeah, this week. Then they leave us with kickoff recaps. But yeah, I think the 2 will win races for the end of the year, as well as the 22. He'll at least win one of these. And also the 12. The 12 has been making a lot of improvements, as we saw at Martinsville. Martinsville is a track that he used to struggle at a lot, and we saw this time he actually led a bunch of laps.
Yeah.
But I do think Penske does need to work on their Phoenix program right now, or ISM, whatever you want to call it.
We agreed to call it Phoenix.
It is Phoenix. The track with the blue walls.
Yes.
This just in, Phoenix is painting their walls red.
They hurt us. um, you spoke about the 18. How do you think that the Gibbs organization as a whole is going to respond?
Well, I think that 18 is basically their lead man. Second would be Hamlin. You know, right now, Eric Jones being new to the team, Daniel Suarez being fairly new as well. You know, both of them will have to take some time to improve overall. But I think the 18 is going to win some of these races. Second place, third place every week. The 11, eventually, I think, not as much as the 18, though.
I could see that as well.
Yeah. So, what about the 42 team? How do you see them faring out before the end of this?
I see them doing very well. That's a good question, though. And I like how you asked about the 42 team and not about Ganassi. Because,
well, when you think about it,
yeah,
the one.
I mean, we are pulling for you, Jamie. We're pulling for you, man. Yeah, I don't know what the one has been doing. He's had some good performances. He's just not like the 42. I don't know. I see the 42 doing very well, especially at the 2-mile tracks, such as Fontana, where he almost, Truex was the main man. However, Carson was faster than everyone else. So I'm going to predict that the 42 will have at least a top 5, probably a top 3. He'll have a podium finish if we have those in NASCAR when we go to Michigan. So I see him doing well this year. So
next week, by the time you're seeing this, next week we will be going to Texas Motor Speedway, another 1.5-mile track. So what are some of your predictions that we should be seeing next week?
Well, I don't think it's too outlandish to say how the 4 and the 78 and probably the 2 and the 18 and the rest of the 1.5-mile gang, they'll be up there as usual. It's not too crazy to say that, as we've seen for the past, 5 years. So yeah, we could see a late race caution. We haven't had a lot of those this year so far, which has been surprising. Even at Martinsville.
Yeah, even at Martinsville. So I don't know what their caution policy is now. I think it's changed. It's like, okay, guys, if you wreck, you're going to do 20 push-ups as soon as we get home.
But we had an overtime at Daytona, so, I mean, hey.
Is that the only overtime we've had so far?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Because last year we had overtime at Atlanta, had overtime at Martinsville, I believe. I'm not too positive about that one, but we've had overtime.
I believe we did at Martinsville.
A lot of times overtime.
All the time, overtime,
all the
overtime. So, yeah, it's been crazy. So, I know every time that we watch a race, it's always, who do we like and are they out front? And so are we praying to see the white flag or the yellow flag next? And so yeah, it's been crazy to not see any cautions late race. I believe we had one. Where was it at? Was it either Vegas or Atlanta?
Atlanta, we had one with about 20 to go.
That's right, yes. So Atlanta, we had, you could say a late race caution, but at the same time, 20 laps is late in the race, of course. However, it's not like a green, white, checkered.
Yeah, it's not like a time crunch, or it's like we got only 2 laps to get up there.
Yeah,
So
use all your stuff now, right? But no, but yeah. So as you, Adam, you had the incredible pick for Martinsville. My goodness. First, can you tell the fans out there how and why did you choose the 14 for Martinsville?
Well, I actually chose the 14 because of his performance at New Hampshire last year. And I know like very similar tracks there, but I saw that Boyer was making a lot of improvements at his short track races. I didn't really expect him to win. I did expect him to do well, but now that I picked him, I'm very glad I did.
Well, if NASCAR ever goes back to ESPN, they will require some new analysts, and
It will be me.
you'll for sure get a call. Yeah, I picked Kurt because I saw Stuart Haas doing well at the short track programs so far this year. I was right, as his teammate Clint Boyer would win the race, but yeah, I think that it was a good pick. Saw Harvick was up there, and Kurt was in the top 10 as well.
Which
So
Almirola would have been if it wasn't for all those penalties on pit road.
it's two separate speeding penalties. At Martinsville, of all places, you get in lap traffic, you can get lapped really easy. Man.
Yeah.
Ooh. So, but moving on, we will talk about the future. And in the future, there's one man that we have not discussed, the legend himself, the man, the myth, the hair, Macaulay Culkin. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Well, Landon Castle. How do you think he will do?
Well, I think Landon's going to pull this team out of its despair, out of the ashes. And I think they're going to get their first win. No, just kidding.
Who do you think will come home in first place coming up to Texas?
Well, last week I went for a long shot. And this week I'm going for a long shot again. The guy that went 3 in a row, Kevin Harvick.
What? No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see him slowing down anytime soon at these tracks.
He's probably going to keep the momentum. So
If someone's going to beat him, it's going to be Kyle Busch or Truex. But I don't think that's going to happen this week. First time this year we're
I would
picking
still
Harvick.
take Harvick. Yeah. Yeah, I know. He wins 3 in a row, and we're like, well, he's not going to keep it going in Vegas. Well, no, he's probably not going to keep Phoenix. No, he's not. Well, yeah, he did, actually. So, wow. Didn't we pick him for Fontana?
No, we picked Kyle and Kyle.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes.
So,
That's right.
Speaking of picks, who are you going to pick this weekend?
I'm going to go with the 2 of Brad Keselowski. And again, of course, it's probably going to be the 4, the 78, or the 18. Great job with your consistency, Adam. but you know, we saw the Penske boys. They had some trouble at the past mile and a half races. However, the 12th car, Blaney, he was there at Atlanta. He just would get into some, he'd have problems as usual. So I'm going to pick the 2 of Brad Keselowski. Texas and Atlanta, those tracks are, I would say, they're probably cousins. Brad would win Atlanta last year. And again, they're all a part of the same program. So yeah.
Look out for the 4. Look out for the 2. Look out for everything. We'll see if Harvick gets his 4th win this season, or we'll see Brad in his first win. Let us know in the comments down below who you think's going to win. Either if you agree or disagree with us. I do believe that's all we have for this week, though.
I believe it is.
Hope you all enjoyed your Easter Sunday, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And let's get ready for Texas.
NASCAR is coming back this week, and yeah, he is risen. And hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you close to the border.